Thanks for joining us this week on the show. I'm thrilled to have you back with me for a little solo exploration. So join me this week as we take a look into the benefits of creativity. And if you feel like this is something that you don't have time for, I invite you to stick around. I share how you can sprinkle micro creative exercises and activities into your daily life so that you know that this is your time to give yourself permission to play. It's time to flip the script on stress and learn how to thrive today and throughout your days. Join me for inspiration and interviews with folks who are shining their light in the world in the areas of positive mindset, health, and well-being. I'm your host, Susi Vine. Let's get happified. Welcome back. I am so happy to have you with me this week on the show. I would love to have you join me for a short but in-depth exploration into the power and the benefits of creativity. Life is pretty demanding. It is sure moving very fast these days. And in the midst of it all, I want to take this time that you have so graciously shared with me to inspire you to embrace opportunities for creativity, not only as perhaps a short-term escape from the world at large, from the stresses of day-to-day life, but even as an opportunity to enhance your mental focus, your capacity for achieving your goals, and for simply resolving stress and finding more insight and sparks, creative problem solutions. There's so much waiting for you inside this little exercise that I'm inviting you to participate in with me today. So I personally have come from a creative background. I was very lucky to be encouraged when I was young to paint, to explore the arts, to participate in theater, which was my first career. And I still love painting, sketching, opportunities for getting my hands a little bit dirty, getting something onto a page, even if it's not something that I'm hoping to share with anyone else or put before anyone else's eyes. I get so much out of the invitation to just be present, to create something, to see what flows from the pencil or the paintbrush. And I know that it not only helps me be present during that action, but it helps me to enhance my focus and the work that I'm doing. It helps me to have some space, some exploration, some invitation to curiosity, and find solutions to questions that have been challenging me in other areas. So that is my own personal experience and benefit that I hope you will discover if you join me in this invitation. But I also want to let you know today a little bit more of what you can expect to find in terms of, what you might experience, how it could be different for you. But the real mental and emotional benefits of indulging, if you will, in creativity. And I have some ideas, some suggestions at how you can incorporate this in your very busy daily life. So first, let's get into the facts underneath of it, right? We can be in this space of creative play is fun, and collaboration with others is fun, and learning things is always a thrill. It helps to engage and expand our minds. But let's take a look at the real benefits of creativity. First of all, finding these opportunities for creativity helps us to overcome the stress that we experience in our daily lives. Engaging in a little creative exercise helps to lower our cortisol levels and helps to reduce anxiety. It also helps to actually rewire our brain, encouraging problem solving abilities and adaptability, all of those tools, being more flexible, being more resilient, that help us meet and overcome the challenges of daily life. Beyond that, creativity is very closely linked with dopamine, one of those happy neurotransmitters that we want to have flowing in our brain. And in today's life, when alarms and notifications are always going off, when we're glued to our email inbox or our to-do list, there are lots of ways in which we're draining our attention, draining our ability to focus. And we are up against a lot of things that demand our attention, that are actually designed to trigger our dopamine by taking us off task, by drawing our attention to social media, to news media in general, to all of the things that keep us scrolling or clicking or subscribing or doing the actions that they want us to do. Well, we can reclaim control of our dopamine by finding ways to stimulate it that are natural and that are actually beneficial to ourselves and the pursuit of our own goals. So, how are dopamine and creativity connected? When we anticipate something, when we are looking forward to something, and that could be something as simple and pleasurable as coloring in a coloring book, in going in a nature walk and engaging all of your senses, in preparing a wonderful meal to nourish yourself or the people that you love. When we look forward to something, that triggers our dopamine to release. We are wired to anticipate, to engage. And when we give ourselves natural things to look forward to, then we are taking back control of our own dopamine. So we also experience dopamine spikes when we do successfully resolve problems, when we find answers to challenging questions. And creating these situations in which we're in our creative mind, we're engaging in creative thinking, creates more opportunities for those aha moments. The more solutions we discover, the more pleasure we find in ourselves and confidence in our abilities, the more dopamine we get to enjoy. That eureka moment, those aha moments, those all come together to help us not only counteract the stress of daily life, but also find more pleasure and satisfaction in what we are doing. Creativity actually creates a natural feedback loop. Dopamine fuels motivation and it makes our brains want more. And as we engage in those things, we release more dopamine, which keeps us more focused and on task. I've talked in other episodes about the flow state, that state in which time falls away when we don't mind the focus, the attention, the energy it takes to accomplish something because we are in the zone. High achievers, high performers fall into this state. They discover how to get there. And it's not a state that comes from zero stress. There's a little bit of an initiation that drops us into the flow state. And from that flow state, we have better focus and we build that capacity to extend and deepen those periods of focus. So with creativity, we create more opportunities for us to drop into that flow state and thus give ourselves the abilities to do it more often and more easily, especially with low pressure activities like doodling, like creating some art, mixed media or collage, or as I've mentioned, simply cooking can be a wonderful creative exercise. Anything that you're doing that feels effortless and feels joyful can be construed as creative play. So I invite you to color outside the lines and make your own rules about what feels inviting to you when it comes to bringing more creativity into your daily life. One of the things that we need to recognize in this constantly stressed lifestyle, in this era of chronic stress, is that we get depleted, right? Our dopamine levels are lower when we're constantly triggered, when we're overstimulated, when we're running on empty. And we can actually help to restore and rejuvenate our dopamine. We can help to recover from those effects of chronic stress by creating these opportunities for that kind of creative spark to get that flowing again for us. As we restore our dopamine levels through natural activity, through the things that our brains were actually wired to enjoy, creative moments, not clicking on reels or videos or video games or any of those other things that provide those quick fixes that capture us in that downward spiral. When we take back that control, when we stimulate our own minds with dopamine releasing activities, then we feel more restored and we are boosting our resilience. We're boosting our capacity to withstand the burdens of stress in our lives. Even short breaks, and I think most importantly, short breaks that you might be able to sprinkle throughout your day have profound benefit. So how can we do that? How can we fit those things into our day? I'm going to give you some ideas in just a moment, but I'd really love for you to think about right now the ways in which through daily life, through our regular cycles that we fall into of stimulation, of depletion, of answering those notifications, we can shift out of that stress response. We can shift from fight or flight back into flow. And as we engage in short activities, short diversions, maybe doodle through a meeting as you're taking notes, we can find more satisfaction, more completion, and more pride in our actions when we have these short little creative exercises that we're engaging in. There is research, there are findings now looking too at the correlation between creativity, learning, and creative engagement as we age. It helps keep our mind sharp. The more we learn, the more we keep our wits and our perception honed so that we can continue to be taking in new information and adapting to it, integrating it, and growing from it. It also helps us to stay resilient long into the future. Our goal is not only to be resilient Monday through Friday, but we really want to look for ways to have resilience, to have staying power, to have positivity long into our future. The chronic diseases that affect us in our 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s start to take root now. And the more we can engage in play, in awe and wonder, the more that we can reclaim control over these neurotransmitters, dialing down cortisol, turning up dopamine through natural exercises, the more our bodies remain resilient long into the future and give us that opportunity to enjoy all of our days, not just the era that we're living in right now. So you might be saying that's fine for some people, but I am not a creative person. And I will tell you that that is something that I put on myself too. So no one is immune. First of all, let me say that perhaps in that human nature that we all have, we're all measuring how we fall short of our own self-imposed ideals. Let me invite you to reframe and redefine what is creative. You don't have to create paintings that someone would pay for. You don't have to create Michelin star meals in order to be a creative chef. What I invite you to do is look for ways to simply create more moments of awe and wonder. Engage your curiosity. Take a different route on the way to work. Hike a different path on your weekend excursion. Look for ways to mix things up, to break out of the structure, the routine of normal that we tend to fall into, and notice how much more present and engaged you are when you find these opportunities. Creativity shows up, as I've mentioned, in cooking, also in problem solving in the work that we do. Gardening is a wonderful place to engage in creativity. It just naturally invites those moments of awe and wonder. Decorating your home, you can engage in creativity with your spring cleaning and freshening up your home space or clearing the clutter and reclaiming your desk. And all of that shows up with collateral benefits in helping us to find focus and work more easily, calling on solutions that might be just out of the framework that we used to feel comfortable with, because we begin to engage and embrace those growth opportunities, and finding those moments of curiosity and pleasure in the things that we do every day. We don't have to wait for those big accomplishments, those big goals to be met to feel deep satisfaction and pleasure in what we're doing. The more we find pleasure in what we do every day and throughout the day, the more engaged we are, the easier it is to stay committed to our goals, and the more we enjoy the process. We have to reclaim that idea that success comes from what we are doing and the ways in which we are growing. Success is not only defined by when and where and how we achieve the goals that we've determined. The more we bring these moments into daily life, the more pleasure we take out of everything that we do, and the easier it is to stay feeling positive, even in a world that feels like it's going mad around us. So I'd like to invite you to explore one or some of these ways in which you can bring creativity into your daily life, even if your to-do list overfloweth. You can have micro moments of creativity. In the morning, if you meditate or if you struggle to be consistent with meditation, you might twist that practice just a little bit and let that include journaling. You might let that include sketching. You might let that include playing some music and dancing and moving your body in different expressive ways. You might just find that whereas before you struggled to find that time to meditate, by doing these micro activities, inviting creativity, it brings you into a mental space where then it's easier to spend a few moments in meditation or mindfulness. I certainly find that I feel more mindful, more present and aware anytime I'm doing anything that invites me to engage in some creativity. Doodling, attending a meeting. I've gotten in the habit of having an array of colored pens, and I arrange my notes or make them more visually easy for myself by covering different things in different colors, right? What one person might be saying in one color, or notes to certain topics in different colors, and certainly using those margins for doodling and other little micro expressions along the way. So movement is always a beautiful way to engage in creativity. That might be having a music playlist that you just can't help but getting up and dancing to. It might be humming and toning. Perhaps, you start with mantras and begin humming, and then just be present with the way that feels in your body, and continue to explore the way different sounds and tones feel in your throat, in your heart space, in your belly. All of these are beautiful opportunities for creative play, and I'll be sharing more in the future, digging into the science and benefits of humming and toning to enhance your personal health and well-being. So anything from indulging in music to even solving puzzles, word games you might not think of as creative, but it is definitely engaging that creative and problem-solving aspect of your brain. I like to do the mini games on the New York Times app. The mini word cross is a great one, but then going on to connections or tiles are other ones that have my brain working in different ways. And it just takes a few moments. So if I'm waiting for a meeting to begin, if I arrive early for an appointment and I'm waiting in my car, I can do one of these things if I don't feel like getting out and getting my feet on the ground, taking a quick nature walk or something of that kind. You can also look for ways to invite creativity into the things that we do every day. As I said, if you are one for meditation, you might look for ways to begin that time of mindfulness with some creative play. You might look for ways to bring more creativity into cooking that you do regularly. Maybe create a mental challenge for yourself by saying, what meal can I make with these 3 ingredients? Open the refrigerator and say, what can I do with these 3 things that I'm looking at, or these 2 things that are in my pantry? And scroll through some recipes, take some creative chances, It's just food, right? If all else fails, you can go back to perhaps some toast and almond butter or something else as a default if by any chance, if for any reason that cooking experiment goes awry. But you just might impress yourself and stumble onto an entirely new menu option. And I always get a thrill out of using the materials that I have at hand, not letting things go to waste, being frugal, and that joy of discovery. And you might engage with friends, invite them to come along and play with you. As most things, I think creativity can be better together, at least some of the time. If you're still looking for ideas, if none of these are lighting you up just yet, I invite you to take a look through local resources like extension programs, community college classes here in San Diego. I always love looking through the catalog at the painting, the crafting, the exercise, even the local travel and adventure museum visits, art escapes that our community college makes available to people who want to register for those classes. And by putting something like this on your calendar, I find it really helps you to carve out that time and claim that space for yourself, for something that lights you up. I often tell clients, go ahead and schedule your next session now. You can always change it if you run out of time. But if you don't schedule these things in advance, life just keeps filling up around the edges and you miss those opportunities to do the things that bring you joy. So look for those classes, look for those workshops. Keep an eye out on meetup.com, for example, or your local neighborhood groups to see what is coming up, where you can lend a hand, where you can do something that's a little bit out of the norm and follow that invitation to be in a new creative mental space. Personally, I would love to invite you to join me for an event that I'm going to be hosting in April. I am bringing back an online event that has been so much fun before. I'm thrilled to offer it again. It is called Clarity to Create. It's a 4-hour online workshop. We will gather together. We will spend time doing a little bit of meditating, doing a little insight, a little vision casting in what kind of future you want to create, reconnecting with the things that really light you up. And we'll be engaging in a little bit of this creative play. Things where it doesn't matter your skill level. You don't have to have one of those creative visions. You know, if you're one of those people that once you have the materials and you start getting to it, it's much easier than sitting down in a blank page and knowing where to begin or what to do with it. This is designed for you. We'll be exploring the benefits of creativity and connecting in community, a nice small group-sized workshop. So don't miss this opportunity to join in and to play with us. It's always a lot of fun. It's always a completely different experience. And that'll be coming up on Saturday, April 12th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Pacific. If you're on the East Coast here in the States, that's noon to 4 p.m. And I would love to have you join me. The link for that will be in the show notes so you can take a look at that and I can answer your questions. Please reach out if there's anything I can clarify for you. I hope that this inspires some ideas. This might give you permission to engage in some creative play. While the world keeps demanding your attention, I think it's important to look for these ways to put yourself and your own well-being first. And creative play not only benefits our mental space, our mental abilities, but also our emotional state. I invite you to come back to that place of wonder, of exploration, and even that satisfaction that comes along with trying something new. Even when it's not perfect, the sense of accomplishment that comes from doing these sorts of activities is exactly the kind of thing that builds our muscles of resilience and fortitude. So I invite you to come along with me. Take a look in the show notes for information about the Clarity to Create workshop. And please share through messages, leave a comment on this episode if you're on Spotify or catching the video on YouTube, or always at 3xlessstress.com on the Happified podcast page. I'd love to hear your comments about how creativity shows up for you and how you plan to invite more of it to play in your life. Thanks for joining me this week. I look forward to seeing you again soon. And until then, take good care of yourself. Thanks for listening. You'll find all the resources we discussed today online at happifiedlife.com, along with links to subscribe to Happified on your favorite player and a handy search tool so you can search all of our previous episodes. Help us grow by leaving a quick review and share this episode with a friend. Until next time, keep on shining.